What if a single moment could change your entire future? Anthony Lolli was just a kid helping his dad, a cab driver in Brooklyn, when a stranger handed him $500. It could have been just another tip, but Anthony saw it differently. That tip wasn't just cash, it was his ticket out of struggle and into success. Today, that moment is the reason he owns a real estate empire worth millions. So, how did he do it? This story isn't just inspiring. It might change how you look at opportunity and what's possible for your own life. Anthony Lolli's story is proof that big dreams don't need big beginnings. Born in Brooklyn, New York, to a family of modest means, Anthony grew up watching his father hustle day and night to provide. What makes Anthony's path so powerful is that he didn't start with a rich family, connections, or even formal business education. He started with $500 and a willingness to take a chance when others wouldn't. This is a story about turning the ordinary into something extraordinary. But before we talk about real estate deals and millions of dollars, let's rewind to the beginning. Because to understand Anthony's success, you need to see where it all started. The streets of Brooklyn, where one tip set everything in motion. Anthony Lolli's story starts in the heart of Brooklyn, New York, where life was anything but glamorous. His father, a hard-working cab driver, spent countless hours navigating the busy streets, just trying to keep the family afloat. Anthony grew up watching his dad's relentless hustle and hearing a constant message: play it safe, get a stable job, secure benefits, and stick to what works. For many, that advice would be comforting, a clear path to a steady life. But for Anthony, it felt like a limitation. He knew there had to be more to life than just survival. Even as a kid, Anthony recalls, I didn't want to just make ends meet. I wanted freedom, opportunities, and something that felt bigger than what we had. Money was always tight. The family lived paycheck to paycheck, stretching every dollar to cover basic needs. The weight of those struggles was felt in every corner of their home, but Anthony never let it crush his spirit. Instead, it gave him fuel, a drive to break the cycle and create something better, not just for himself, but for his family. Anthony's early days were filled with small jobs and side hustles to help out. Whether it was odd tasks for neighbors or assisting his father with cab routes, Anthony learned early on the value of hard work. But even in those challenging years, he had one thing that couldn't be taught: ambition. He wasn't afraid to dream big, even when his surroundings said otherwise. What stands out about Anthony's story isn't just the struggle, it's the mindset he built during those early years. While others focused on obstacles, Anthony looked for chances to create something better. He didn't know when or how his life would turn around, but he made sure he was ready when the opportunity came. And that moment came in the form of a $500 tip that would change his life forever. One ordinary day, while helping his father with cab routes, 17-year-old Anthony Lolli experienced something extraordinary. A passenger handed his dad an unusually large tip, $500. For Anthony, this wasn't just a generous act, it was a lightning bolt moment that sparked his imagination. That $500 was far more than cash. It represented possibilities. Anthony remembers staring at the money, realizing it could do so much more than cover bills or buy a fleeting luxury. It could be the seed for something life-changing. I couldn't stop thinking about it, Anthony says. What if this wasn't just a tip? What if it was my starting point? But the question remained: how could he use it to break free from the cycle of struggle? For days, Anthony kept the money close, pondering his next move. He thought about different options, from small business ideas to investments, but one kept coming back to him: real estate. Growing up in Brooklyn, Anthony saw real estate as the ultimate symbol of success. It wasn't just about owning property, it was about control, security, and building a future. He didn't know the first thing about the industry, but he was willing to learn. That $500 became the push Anthony needed to take the leap. It wasn't enough to buy property, but it was enough to pay for real estate classes, licensing fees, and the materials he'd need to get started. For many, $500 might have been spent in an instant. But for Anthony, it was an opportunity, a reminder that one small moment could set the stage for something bigger. This moment didn't just change his life, it set the foundation for his future as a real estate mogul. With $500 in hand and a vision for something greater, Anthony Lolli took his first steps into real estate. He enrolled in evening classes while still helping his father with the cab routes during the day. The courses weren't just a gateway to a license. They were Anthony's entry into a world he knew nothing about. He pored over material, learning everything from property laws to negotiating tactics. Getting his real estate license was a proud moment, but it was only the beginning. Armed with knowledge but no experience, Anthony started small, working on rental deals. His first clients weren't wealthy investors or major buyers. They were everyday people, just like his family. He quickly realized that real estate wasn't just about properties, it was about relationships and trust. But the journey was anything but smooth. It was tough. Nobody believed a cab driver's kid could make it in real estate, Anthony recalls. But I wasn't doing this for them, I was doing it for me. Rejections came in waves. Clients doubted his abilities, brokers overlooked him, and at times, even his own confidence wavered. Financial struggles added to the pressure as Anthony scraped by on commissions that barely covered his expenses. Still, Anthony persisted. Every late-night study session and early morning client meeting was another step forward. Then, finally, a breakthrough. His first deal, a small rental agreement, was modest by industry standards, but for Anthony, it was monumental. That first commission wasn't just money, it was proof that his determination was paying off. From that point on, Anthony had a blueprint. He understood that real estate wasn't just about big wins, it was about consistency and learning from every experience. That first deal laid the foundation for something much bigger, as Anthony set his sights on building a portfolio that would eventually redefine his future. With his first deal behind him, Anthony Lolli started thinking long-term. The rental agreements were steady, but they weren't enough to build the future he envisioned. To truly break out, Anthony needed a strategy, and he found one by focusing on affordable duplexes. These properties were within reach financially and offered the potential for both rental income and equity growth. Anthony knew he couldn't afford to make reckless decisions, so he took calculated risks. Every commission he earned went back into his business. Instead of spending on luxuries, Anthony reinvested in his portfolio, determined to scale it one property at a time. The journey, however, wasn't without its hurdles. Economic downturns tested his resolve as property values fluctuated and tenants became harder to secure. On top of that, there was constant skepticism from peers and even friends. People doubted me at every step, Anthony recalls. But I wasn't building this for applause. I was building it for freedom. Anthony's breakthrough moment came when he acquired his first multifamily property. It wasn't a flashy purchase, but it changed everything. With multiple rental units under one roof, the income streams began to compound. Suddenly, he wasn't just collecting rent. He was experiencing the power of passive income. This wasn't just about owning property, it was about creating freedom, Anthony explains. Every tenant was helping me build the future I had always dreamed of. As his portfolio grew, so did his confidence. Anthony saw the potential to scale beyond what he'd ever imagined. Each new property added momentum, proving that his strategy of reinvesting profits and focusing on affordable investments was working. By staying disciplined and adapting to challenges, Anthony laid the foundation for a real estate empire. The same kid who grew up watching his father navigate the streets of Brooklyn was now navigating a growing portfolio of properties. With his growing portfolio of duplexes and multifamily properties, Anthony Lolli was ready to level up. He wasn't content with simply owning a few properties. He wanted to build an empire. His strategy evolved from focusing on affordable residential units to expanding into commercial real estate, office spaces, retail properties, and larger residential complexes became his new targets, providing higher income potential and increased equity. Anthony didn't just dive in blindly. He carefully analyzed each market, identifying areas with growth potential. He focused on building relationships to secure better deals with lenders, investors, and contractors to secure favorable deals. This approach wasn't without its risks, but Anthony knew that every calculated step brought him closer to his vision. Diversification became a key part of his strategy. Instead of relying solely on rentals, he began exploring opportunities in property development and flipping undervalued buildings. These ventures were more demanding, but allowed him to capitalize on his growing expertise and maximize returns. As his portfolio expanded, so did his reputation. Anthony started getting invited to speak at real estate seminars and conferences. His story of turning a $500 tip into a multi-million-dollar empire inspired others, and soon he was mentoring aspiring investors. He launched programs that taught people how to replicate his strategies, sharing the blueprint he had refined over years of hard work. Anthony's achievements weren't just about accumulating wealth, they were about creating a lasting impact. His portfolio grew exponentially, with properties spanning multiple states. He went from being a kid helping his father navigate the streets of Brooklyn to a mogul managing millions in assets. "Anthony Lolli isn't alone in his incredible journey," he once said. "Real estate legends like Li Ka-shing have shown us how transformative this industry can be. It's not just about money, it's about vision." Despite his success, Anthony stayed grounded. He understood that the journey wasn't just about the buildings or the money. It was about proving that with the right mindset, even the most humble beginnings could lead to extraordinary outcomes. Anthony Lolli's journey from the son of a cab driver to a multi-million-dollar real estate mogul is living proof that small beginnings can lead to extraordinary results. His story isn't just about money, it's about vision, grit, and turning every opportunity into a stepping stone towards something greater. That $500 tip wasn't just cash, it was a spark. Anthony turned it into a foundation for a real estate empire, teaching us that it's not what you start with, it's what you do with it. Along the way, he faced doubts, challenges, and countless obstacles, but he never let his circumstances define him. Now, it's your turn to think about your next opportunity. What will you do with it? Whether it's $500 or just an idea, the key is to act. If Anthony's story inspired you, there's more to learn from other visionaries in real estate. Check out The Richest Man in Real Estate, The Story of Li Ka-shing, to see how another incredible mind turned ambition into a global legacy. Your story could be next. All it takes is that first step.